I actually felt retarded, like really retarded. I mean, I brushed my teeth retarded. I rode the bus retarded.
Dang.
In a weird way, I had to sort of just free myself up to believe that it was okay to be stupid or dumb.
To be a moron.
Yeah,
To be moronical.
exactly. To be a moron.
An imbecile.
Yeah.
Like the dumbest motherfucker that ever lived.
In a weird way, it was almost like I had to sort of fool my mind into believing that it wasn't retarded. And by the end of the whole thing, I was like, wait a minute, you know? I flushed so much out, how am I gonna jumpstart it up again? It's just like,
Yeah.
right?
You was farting in bathtubs and laughing your ass off.
Yeah.
You serious? You don't know. Everybody knows you never go full retard.
What do you mean?
You know any retarded war heroes? You went full retard, man. Never go full retard.
The first trans woman to compete for the Miss Georgia USA title has had an abrupt change of heart. She's announced she will be withdrawing from competition. Atlanta News First reporter Brittany Ford is live in Midtown. Brittany has spoke with her about this decision.
Yeah, Bella Bautista made the historic announcement that she would be the first trans woman to compete in this pageant just weeks ago. Now she says she's concerned she won't be treated fairly. In a paragraph-long social media post Monday, 22-year-old Bella Bautista announced she would be dropping out of the Miss Georgia USA pageant.
This has been a dream that I've had for so many years, something that I worked for so many years, and to have to step away was probably one of the most hardest things I've ever had to do in my entire life.
Bautista, who would have been the first trans woman to compete in the competition, says she was concerned about being treated equally and judged fairly.
Put me in a place where I had to relinquish my title. Their actions no longer align with my vision for inclusivity and the world truth discrimination.
Bautista has been a trailblazer for those in the trans community.
I honestly feel heartbroken. I didn't want to make that statement for the longest time.
She says she hopes this bold move will help pave the way for others.
I hope that the visibility that I gained will light the way for the next transgender person to have a spot in that pageant.
Now, I reached out to Greenwood Production, the company that produces the Miss Georgia USA competition, and did not hear immediately back. Reporting live in Midtown, Brittany Ford, Atlanta News First.
More chaos on a Delta plane. A man says he was bitten by an unruly passenger on a flight from Atlanta to Los Angeles, and now the Atlanta-based airline is responding. In a statement sent to Atlanta News First, the airline wrote, and I quote, "Delta has zero tolerance for unruly behavior, and we will work with law enforcement to that end." This incident happened on Monday, right after the plane landed at LAX. Officials tell us a passenger had to be detained by other people on board. The man who was bitten says he was just trying to help after seeing a scuffle in the back of the plane.
I helped out the guys on the ground. I kind of took control a little bit and helped raise him so we can get restraints on him.
So according to LA Fire and the
restraints broke.
According to LA Fire and the TSA, the man was restrained after biting a passenger and hitting other people. Officials tell us he was taken to the hospital for a psychological evaluation.
A new book by royal author Tom Quinn has revealed bizarre details about how Prince Andrew allegedly treats staff at the Royal Lodge. So what were some of the biggest revelations about working for the Duke of York?
Yeah, so Tom Quinn's released this really kind of humorous book in a way, talking about, the lives of the staff at the palaces. What is it really like being, a maid or a butler to a member of the royal family? And unsurprisingly, some of the kind of crazy stuff in there was about the staff who work for the Duke of York. There were some really funny things in there. We've known this before, that he is obsessed with teddy bears. He has 40 teddy bears that have to be assembled and arranged perfectly. Staff are given a chart to arrange Prince Andrew's teddy bears on his bed every day. So there's quirky stuff, but there's also just stuff in there about how, especially in recent years since he's left the royal family, that he takes it out on staff because he is in isolation. He is in this sprawling property with not necessarily a lot of interaction with the outside world. And apparently it's the staff that are really suffering because, you know, they have to deal with his moods. So, yeah, not surprising, but definitely, a kind of icky kind of book. It doesn't really paint him in a positive light.
No. Finally, I want to talk to you about some Hollywood news. There are calls for Ye to be kicked off X. Very fair, valid calls.
Yeah.
He's had a history, as we know, of making pretty vile anti-Semitic comments, and now he's tweeted about Beyonce, Jay-Z, and their children. What can you tell us?
I mean, this is just disgraceful. You know, the bar is so low with Ye because, you know, he is unfortunately someone who suffers from mental health issues. He's been open about that, but he really has said and done things that are unforgivable, especially talking about Jewish people, but also about lots of different minority groups and individuals. And this latest attack is, I think, one of the worst. It's talking about Beyonce and Jay-Z's youngest children, comments that, I mean, I wouldn't repeat. I don't think any news outlets are really repeating them because it's just so offensive. And it's also offensive, I think, to people, you know, I don't want to get into it, but it is very offensive. And you almost feel in this situation sympathy for Kim Kardashian of all people, because, you know, she's got 4 children with this man. She has to co-parent with him, dealing with his moods. He did take down the tweets. He said that he was doing it because he didn't want his account to be suspended, not because he is taking it back or apologizing. I do think Elon Musk needs to step in, or someone needs to step in at this point and just get this person, deplatform them. You know, it's so toxic and it's disturbing in a way because, you know, because he's been doing it so long and there's so much stuff, it's almost become normalized. And I really think that is a dark, dark road that we're going down.
Absolutely. It needs to stop. Riley Sullivan, so good to talk to you. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Questioning. He said that their kids were special needs, their youngest children were special needs. That's why you don't see him in the spotlight.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do hope we have additional opportunity to delve into these issues. Mr. Atkinson, I had the opportunity to travel from Texas to California, visit most of the ports of entry and areas between ports of entry, talk to a lot of your agents. Most of the employees right now at the border, green and blue uniforms, came on board after 9/11. So you're right, we've got a massive wave of retirements coming any day now. Low morale? Hey, you pay a person at San Isidro the same that you pay somebody in New Mexico. Mandatory overtime? Do we have mandatory overtime?
That's correct.
So you got an agent who's got to go home and take care of the kids, a single parent. What does he say when he's popped with a 16-hour turn to work?
Sorry, at best.
How does that help morale?
That's right.
Okay. Suicides, absolutely. And I hope, Mr. Chairman, moving forward, let's look at these issues. That's bread and butter stuff. Recruitment. The reason you can't bring in more people is because of the security background check. It's tougher than even the FBI's background check. These are the issues we got to look at and we've been talking about for years. Now, Mr. Blair, you talked about the narcos.
Yes, sir.
You did. You're absolutely right. Very powerful. In Mexico, people are scared to death to walk on those streets. Who finances those narcos?
They finance themselves through their illicit commodities.
The sale of drugs to our taxpayers, our constituents. Those are American dollars that are going to Mexico to finance the narcos. Is that correct? Yes or no?
Yes, sir. We are one of their
So
largest.
you're witnessing right now the biggest transfer of wealth in recent history. American consumers financing narcos that are killing people in other countries. Yes, no?
Yes, as well as all the other 65
Thank you very much. I'd love to talk to you a little bit more, but I got a couple of minutes left. Maybe one of my colleagues here can indulge you a little bit more. But Mr. Reichlich Melnick, let's talk about that a little bit. Trump administration pulling thousands of agents to the border, pulling FBI, DEA, ATF from investigating child abuses, sex traffickers, gangs, drugs. If you want to go after these issues, wouldn't you go after the pocketbook? Wouldn't you go after and investigate where these dollars are flowing, where they're coming from?
I think so, yes.
So how does this shift in personnel help the situation or not?
I don't think it does. I think trained law enforcement that are focusing on very serious crimes like child sexual exploitation should stay on the job doing those jobs.
I mean, if you want to punch a drug cartel, you want to go after their pocketbook, correct? So when you pull somebody from ATF, DEA, FBI from that investigation, what are we doing?
I don't see how that helps.
Let me come back to the issue of deporting individuals that don't have a criminal record. I'm from California. We're land of the nuts and fruits, many say. We're also the 5th largest economy in the world. We're also the biggest ag state in the United States, account for 60% of the nation's venture capital. We have more inventions, Silicon Valley. We've been able to fix our human resource, our workforce issues by integrating documented and undocumented workers. Most of our workers in the fields are probably undocumented. Is that a good bet for our economy, for lowering the prices of food?
Yeah, certainly undocumented workers contribute significantly to the United States. Many of them are taxpayers. About half of undocumented immigrants pay taxes as well, putting billions of dollars into
A lot of them
economies.
pay into the Social Security system. We'll never see a dime off that system. And Mr. Chairman, I've got half a minute left here, but I'd love to delve with you into these issues. Nobody wants.
First and foremost, I mean, it's just funny how he talked out of the side of his neck. Employing illegals is illegal. They should start finding these corporations that do that. Let's just be honest. And as far as them paying into the Social Security system, do understand that they're paying into the Social Security system with stolen Social Security numbers of more than likely people who are dead. They're dead. So in essence, every paycheck, the U.S. government is robbing these people blind with the 40% tax cut or 40% tax theft that they do to these people. You're robbing them blind, 40% per paycheck. For money, of course, yes, that they'll never see. But it's because of those illegals that the Social Security Administration, this is why a lot of the money is just coming up missing. Once you cut them off those rolls, which apparently that's what they're going to do, anybody starting at 120 years old and up, they're cutting them off the rolls. And then they're going to work backwards to see who's all still alive. They're going to start doing proof of life through the Social Security Administration to make sure that they're not dealing with people who are committing fraud through the Social Security system. Because you're not just paying in, Social Security is also paying out. That's the biggest thing. Nobody over the age of 65, for the most part, is paying into the Social Security system. They're the ones that are majority collecting a check. So we need to find out who over the age of 65 is collecting a check that this is who they say they are. So this whole situation about, well, you know, they're the tax base, they're part of the tax base. No. Let's, don't try to whole math me on this situation, because it's whole babble. You have a lot of people that are collecting checks on Social Security. You have more people collecting than you have people paying in. This is why the system was going bankrupt. So who are you really helping? How are they really helping? If their measly little twice a month check is not enough to keep the system from eventually going bankrupt. What's up, Lewis? Like that's nuts and fruit had a. I know nuts and fruits. Yeah, it had a double meaning. I was like, And as far as him talking about California producing the most, like, dude, you have industries that are leaving California left and right because of your quote unquote progressive politics. Like, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. Let's get past this guy and let's get to the main course, shall we?
And that's what we're doing.
Do you worry that national security was put at risk, Mr. President?
Of senior officials using signal.
Do I plan to ban who?
The use of signal to communicate from senior officials.
Well, I don't know what this, I don't know anything about Signal. I wasn't involved in this, but I just heard about it. And I hear it's used by a lot of groups. It's used by the media a lot. It's used by a lot of the military and I think successfully, but sometimes somebody can get onto those things. That's one of the prices you pay when you're not sitting in the situation room with no phones on, which is always the best, frankly. But the best is to be there. In fact, oftentimes I've been in fact, just last week, I was in the situation room on something very important. And we had a couple of people hooked up by line. And I said, cancel the line. Sorry, fellas, what you do is we'll tell you all about the meeting. Because I know people do get on those lines, whether it's Signal or anything else. Yeah.
So are you going to change any procedures as a result of this?
Well, I mean, look, we look at everything, and they've made a big deal out of this because we've had 2 perfect months. We are bringing in business. We have another one announced tomorrow, a big one, very big. Like in the history of our country, nobody's ever seen anything like it. And I think probably a lot of people are saying they started by saying it was the greatest first month that a president has ever had, and I think that's true. And now they say it's the best second month, and they had to find something. And this certainly will look at this, but the main thing was nothing happened. The attack was totally successful. It was, I guess, from what I understand, took place during, and it wasn't classified information. So this was not classified. Now, if it's classified information, it's probably a little bit different. But I always say you have to learn from every experience. I think it was very unfair the way they attacked Michael. He's a good person. The person that was on just happens to be a sleazebag. So maybe that's just coincidence. I don't know.
But you are going to conduct an investigation.
Would it be a problem if the Atlantic released all the text messages if they're not classified?
Well, I don't know. I'd have to ask the military about that because, maybe you wouldn't want that. I don't know. I will say this, that from what I heard, the man that we're talking about, who's not somebody that I don't think most people have ever heard of, he found it very boring and he left early. He got off the line very early. So I can't speak to it other than that. So he's made up a lot of stories and I think he's basically bad for the country, but it's a failing venture, very failing venture. They're very upset. And a thing like this is publicity for them. But I don't think we should allow people that are very good, like that man sitting right at the end of the table who's done a great job. We shouldn't allow them to be hurt by it.
Mr. President, can I follow up on that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Are you saying you're okay with the continued use of Signal by administration officials?
No, that's not what I said. I said we'll look into it, but everybody else seems to be using it. It seems to be the number one used device or app, whatever you want to call it. And we will certainly look. If it was up to me, everybody would be sitting in a room together. The room would have solid lead walls and a lead ceiling and a lead floor. But, life doesn't always let you do that. In the meantime, the attack itself that we were talking.
Hold on a second. Had to check on them. I heard banging. Heard banging. I had to make sure everything was good. I just up there watching TV. All right, so that's how Trump feels on Signal. But like I said, let's get to the meat and potatoes. I forgot I had that in there.
Talking about and discussing has been an unbelievable success.
But you will be.
All right, here we go. See what popped off 2 days ago yesterday that we missed. The white man smile.
Thank you very much. It's an honor to be with you today. We just celebrated Women's Day at the White House. It was fantastic, attended by a lot of great women. All women.
You stupid.
So,
What's
this
up,
is
Dibba?
the beginning of Liberation Day in America. We're going to take back just some of the money that has been taken from us by people sitting behind this desk or another desk that's not quite as nice, but they have their choice of 7, as you know. And we're going to charge countries for doing business in our country and taking our jobs, taking our wealth, taking a lot of things that they've been taking over the years. They've taken so much out of our country, friend and foe. And frankly, friend has been oftentimes much worse than foe. And this is very modest. And what we're going to be doing is a 25% tariff on all cars that are not made in the United States. If they're made in the United States, there's absolutely no tariff. We start off with a 2.5% base, which is what we were at. And we go to 25%. And basically, as you know, and as you've been seeing, not reporting as accurately as it should be reported because it's a massive story. Business is coming back to the United States so that they don't have to pay tariffs. And I think also because of November 5th, the election, they're very happy. AI is coming back to levels that nobody's ever seen before. It's a new, sort of a new business, I guess, when you think about it. But it's plants are going up all over the United States, and many of them have already been started. We're getting early electricity taken care of. We're getting permits very quickly for them. And we're going to make their life very happy. They're coming in with tens of billions of dollars. Individual plants will cost 10, 15, even $20 billion. We're going to let them build electricity generating plants along with their plant. And they can't even believe it. And we're going to get them very quick permits, as I've done always. I did that in Louisiana with 2 LNG plants. I got them one permit in 1 day after waiting 14 years and the other one in 1 week after waiting for 12 years. But this is very exciting to me. This is the automobile industry, and this will continue to spur growth like you haven't seen. Before I was elected, we were losing all of our plants that were being built in Mexico and Canada and other places. Now those plants largely have stopped, and they're moving them to our country. In Indiana, the great state of Indiana, I love Indiana. Honda is building one of the biggest plants anywhere, and they've just started. They wouldn't have done it without this. In all cases, they wouldn't have done it without what we're doing. So we'll effectively be charging a 25% tariff. But if you build your car in the United States, there is no tariff. And what that means is a lot of foreign car companies, a lot of companies are going to be in great shape because they've already built their plant, but their plants are underutilized, so they'll be able to expand them inexpensively and quickly. But others will come into our country and build, and they're already looking for sites. They're looking for mostly sites. They don't want to take the old buildings that are empty and falling down. They want to build new, and there's tremendous action. There is likewise for other companies and countries like the chip making process. Your chip bill was a disaster done by Biden. All he does is give tremendous amounts of billions of dollars to chip companies that will do nothing with the money. They're not going to use the money here. They're going to just keep it. They have plenty of money. The one thing they have is they have a lot of money. In our case, all we're doing is saying you can't come in unless you build here. And the largest chip company by far is manufactured from Taiwan is building here, and it'll give us almost 40% of the chip.
They were implemented yesterday. This was yesterday's conference. I didn't get a chance to get to it yesterday, so this was yesterday. So you're right, and yes, that is Jackson back there on the horse. And I'm sorry, y'all. I was looking at my positions. I'm looking at my stock. United Steel. I've made $78.90 on that at closing so far today. I made 38 cents on Tesla. Let's see here. Apple is up. At least $1.93 price change. The date change is $3.86. But I've lost $35 on it because I bought it early, but I'm not worried. It's bouncing back up because of corporations that's coming in. But my stocks that I know I don't have to worry about, AIQ, THNQ, SIL, BOTZ, and SPDW. All right, those are my 5 ETFs. I know I don't have to worry about those. All right, I'm doing pretty good on my ETFs. So I'm just throwing that out there. This is why we do the Sunday show, but whatever. Let's get back to this.
Market just with that. They're spending almost new, and there's tremendous action. There is likewise for other companies and countries like the chip making process. Your chip bill was a disaster done by Biden. All he does is give tremendous amounts of billions of dollars to chip companies that will do nothing with the money. They're not going to use the money here. They're going to just keep it. They have plenty of money. The one thing they have is they have a lot of money. In our case, all we're doing is saying you can't come in unless you build here. And the largest chip company by far is manufactured from Taiwan is building here, and it'll give us almost 40% of the chip market just with that. They're spending almost $200 billion in the United States to build a plant, and they've almost started. They'll be doing much of the work in Arizona. So we have a lot of exciting things, but to me, this is one of the most exciting. Now, outside of one specific day, and that's Liberation Day. That's the real Liberation Day of America, and that's going to be in April 2nd. And I look forward to it. We'll have a little news conference. We'll talk about it. But this is very exciting. So we're signing a executive order today that's going to lead to tremendous growth in the automobile industry. As you know, the electric mandate that we did allows you to buy a car now, electric or gasoline powered or hybrid. You can buy any car you want. We had it so that within a short period of time, you had to buy all electric, and the country could never provide the money necessary to build all of those power plants that you would need all over the country. As you know, in the Middle West, they built 8 power stations. That's like the size of this desk or smaller. And they ended up spending $9 billion on 8. And of the 8, 4 of them didn't work. And we're not doing that. So you can buy electric, or you can buy gasoline, or you can buy hybrid, or you can buy whatever you want to buy. And that's the way it should be. The market's going to determine that. And you're going to see prices going down, but it's going to go down specifically because they're going to buy what we're doing, incentivizing companies to, and even countries, but companies to come into America and build. And we're already setting records for new plants. I think the new plant number, the tally is just within a period of a few weeks. It's very large. I want to be accurate. It's very large. And I'd like to ask Will just to come and give some of the basics, and then I'll sign it. And it's off to the races. I think our automobile business will flourish like it's never flourished before. Yes, please, Will.
Thank you, sir. As you stated, we've prepared for your attention a proclamation imposing a 25% tariff on foreign-made cars and light trucks. This is in addition to tariffs that are already in place on those goods. In addition to, as you said, spurring increased domestic manufacture of cars and trucks, we expect that these tariffs will result in over $100 billion of new annual revenue to the United States of America in tariff revenue?
I think ultimately we could probably anywhere from 600 billion to $1 trillion will be taken in over the relatively short-term period, meaning a year from now. But starting right away. I think we'll go from 600 to $1 trillion within 2 years. And I think we'll be right from the beginning, we're going to be at a very high number, right from the beginning. And right from the beginning, you're going to have a lot of construction jobs, but you're also going to have a lot of automobile jobs. So this is very exciting, but it's also exciting because of what's happening with other aspects. We're going to be doing tariffs on pharmaceuticals in order to bring our pharmaceutical industry back. We don't make anything here in terms of drugs, medical drugs, different types of drugs that you need, medicines. It's in other countries, largely made in China, a lot of it made in Ireland. Ireland was very smart. We love Ireland. But we're going to have that. We're going to have lumber. We're going to free up some of our land. And you'll be able to meet a lot of other standards like fire cuts. If Los Angeles had fire cuts, which they didn't have, that's a gap of half a football field between areas. You wouldn't have had the fires. They would have been contained. But you have fire cuts. And by the way, you sell that wood for a lot of money, a lot of profit is made from that. But we're going to be doing lumber. We're freeing up our land so that we don't have to use outside sources of lumber. Energy, we're doing fantastically well at. The energy prices have been coming down rapidly as we increase supply, and we've already done that. We have Chris and Doug are doing a fantastic job of that. That's Department of Energy and Department of Interior. And they're working together hand in hand because Interior has the land and Energy has the ability to do the drilling and do what they have to do. Our coal areas are going to be opened up for clean, beautiful coal. Germany's opening up many coal plants now. They tried the wind and it didn't work. They almost went out of business. They almost went bankrupt. They tried wind, which is a disaster because it's too expensive and it doesn't look good, kills all the birds, a lot of problems. But Germany is now building a lot of coal plants. China is building one a week. Think of that. And they're using coal, which is very powerful. Coal is a very powerful energy. And we're opening up our coal mines again. And we're going to I call it beautiful, clean coal. The technology is so good now that coal can give you tremendous power at the same time. It can be very clean. But we're also obviously doing oil and gas and various other things. You can do pretty much whatever you want. We don't like the wind because we think it ruins the landscapes, the plains, ruins them. And it's got a lot of problems. It's also by far the most expensive energy. It looks horrible in the oceans. It's dangerous in the oceans in terms of navigation. And if you look at what's happening with whales, in one area, they lost 2 whales, like in 20 years, washed ashore. And this year they had 17 wash ashore. So there's something happened out there. There's something driving the whales a little bit loco, but they lost 2 in 20 years. And now they lost 17 in a short period of time. So it's something wrong out there. So this is very exciting. This is going to lead to the construction of a lot of plants, in this case, auto plants. And you're going to see numbers like you haven't seen, both in terms of employment. It takes a little while. You're going to have great construction numbers initially, and then ultimately you're going to have a lot of people making a lot of cars.
Before he talked past that, because I was waiting, he said it earlier. So apparently what they're not doing, they're not refurbishing these old auto manufacturing plants. They're building new ones. No wonder my U.S. steel stock is going off the rip. So they're going to be building new plants, new auto plants, new steel plants, new smelters, all of this stuff. They're going to modernize everything instead of refurbishing, which means more than likely, like he said, there's going to be a lot of construction. So more than likely what will probably happen, now I'm not sure, I'm just, I'm taking a swag at it. They'll probably strip out the old plants, tear them down, and then build them anew from the ground up, because the land is already, the permits should already be easy to get. The zoning should already be easy to get because they're already there. like in the area of Detroit, you know, they didn't turn around and start building like playgrounds and schools next to the old auto factories. I mean, they're zoned to be in industrial areas. You know, it's just like with Umar's bandos, like they were stripped of being schools. They shut them down because of the areas that they're in. You got 2 prisons down the street from them, so they'll never be occupied be up for school occupancy. They'll never be for school occupancy simply because of the zoning laws. Yeah, interesting, but that's good. If you're in construction, you know, which is really not to be insulting, because, you know, I know people that's in construction, but you don't need a college degree to be in construction, right? That helps out a lot. That helps out a lot. Ooh.
And one other thing, we have the Speaker of the House with us, who's doing a fantastic job. And where's Mike? And we're trying to get approved. Mike, thank you very much for being here. We're trying to get approved, if we can. If you borrow money to buy a car, you're allowed to deduct interest payments for purposes of income tax, but only if the car is made in America. So if the car is made in America, you get a loan, you can deduct the interest. That's a big saving. A lot of people in that part of the world, in terms of buying cars, a lot of them don't think in terms of deductions. People that think in terms of deductions are very wealthy people, but people are going to start understanding what a good deduction is all about. So when you get a loan to buy a car, and I think it's going to pay for itself. I don't think there's any cost. I think you're going to have so many cars built, but you're only going to get that deduction of interest if the car is made in the United States of America. So I'm going to sign this, and Mike, I hope you can get that, because I think it's going to be amazing in terms of the number of cars that are going to be made because of it. And I want to thank Howard Lutnick, our fabulous commerce chairman. That's what he is. He's a chairman. He's a very successful guy, a great guy. And we have a big day, Howard, coming up next week. It's going to be good. That's Liberation Day. That's going to be on the 2nd, and that's going to be reciprocal. And I think people will be impressed. We're going to be very fair. We're going to be very nice, actually. We have not been treated nicely by other countries, but we're going to be nice. So I think people will be pleasantly surprised, but it's going to make our country very rich, because we're the piggy bank that everybody steals from, and they've been doing it for many years, for decades, so we're not going to let it happen. So, but we're going to treat people very nicely. We're going to treat other countries very, very nicely, and I think it's going to have a very positive effect on everybody, including those other countries. So I'll sign this, and we will see you again on April the 2nd. In terms of this, it's going to be another round, and it's about making America great again, making it strong and prosperous again. Thank you very much.
Sir, this is like on
tariffs, Mr. President, on the car tariffs, how do you assure that a car coming into the country is fully built? Could an automaker in Germany say, look, the tires off a car?
Yeah, we're going to have very strong policing, and it's pretty easy to do. If parts are made in America and a car isn't, those parts are not going to be taxed or tariffed. And we'll have very strong policing as far as that's concerned. For the most part, I think it's going to lead cars to be made in one location. You know, right now, a car would be made here, sent to Canada, sent to Mexico, sent all over the place. It's ridiculous. So this is a very simple system. And the beauty of the 25, it's one number. It's not up or down, depending on the cost of the car. It's one number. And that number is going to be used to reduce debt greatly in the United States and to build things, reduce taxes. I mean, basically, I view it as reducing taxes and also reducing debt. And within a fairly short period of time, I think we're going to have a balance sheet that's going to be outstanding. Yeah.
Can you assure Americans then that this will not cause a long-term increase in prices?
Well, look, I think we're going to have a market the likes of which nobody's ever seen before, not in this country. You know, we had the best market ever in my first term. It was the strongest market ever, the best economy ever. And I think I think this blows it away. But this is something that people have wanted to do, presidents have wanted to do for a long time. A lot of them didn't understand it. It wasn't a priority for them, but foreign countries understood it very well. And they've really ripped us off at levels that nobody's seen before, but that's not going to happen.
You stupid, Jimmy.
These auto tariffs go into effect today or on April 2nd?
They go to effect on April 2nd. We're signing today. It goes into effect April 2nd. We start collecting on April 3rd.
Mr. President, how many more sectoral tariffs are coming in on April 2nd?
What does that mean?
Any more tariffs on any other sectors on April 2nd, for example, chips or pharmaceuticals?
Not then, but we will be putting a tariff on lumber. We, as you know, have a tariff already on steel and on aluminum of 25%, and we're taking in tremendous amounts of dollars. More importantly, our steel factories and aluminum factories are roaring. They're starting to roar.
Yes,
They're
they
building
are.
new ones. I just heard from Nucor, which is a big company, a very big steel company, and they're building a massive plant for steel that they wouldn't build without.
What did he
this.
just say?
Built from Nucor, which is a big roaring. They're starting to roar. They're building new ones. I just heard from Nucor, which is a big company, a very big steel company, and they're building a massive plant for steel that they wouldn't build without this. So you're going to see things that are going to be actually amazing. And I think you already have. You know, we've had some news conferences where I can't have enough. They want to do news conferences where they announce they're going to spend 20, 30, 40 billion dollars. But Apple, as an example, is spending $500 billion. Okay, any other?
Oh, you say Nucor? Okay, I spelled it wrong. All right, thank you.
Hold on one second.
Nucor.
Reciprocal tariffs next week. Will those be immediately effective April 2nd on all countries, or will you focus on the worst offenders?
No, we're going to make it all countries, and we're going to make it very lenient. I think people are going to be very surprised. It'll be, in many cases, less than the tariff that they've been charging us for decades.
Yes,
So I think people are going to be very, very surprised.
Why is
On these auto tariffs,
I think they'll be pleasantly surprised. I don't know. I think we're trying to keep it somewhat conservative.
and on these auto tariffs, we saw obviously the NASDAQ 100 go down 2% at close, S&P 500 down 1%. What are you concerned
Is that
about
today?
that market reaction?
Today?
Yes, sir.
I didn't say that. I want to see the jobs. I want to see that'll all take care of itself. That could take care of itself in 1 day, 2 days, or 1 week.
Are there any conditions under which you'd remove these auto tariffs, sir, or is this permanent for the rest of your term in office?
Hold on. Let's take a look at this. So this is Nucor. All right. This is 1 day. Let's do 1 month. Oh, they had a serious dip on March 21st. But, you know, they look like they've been holding steady. Let's see, 6 months. All right. Let's see, 1 year. Man, let's go max. All right. So max. All right. They closed at $127 a share. Opened at 126. Lowest was 124. Well, that's, hold on. Let's go 1 day. Sorry. Yeah. All right. Still the same. Yeah. So opened at 126. Closed at, 127. So they made $1.30 more this year. All right. I mean, it's something to look at. We'll see. Let's get back to it. I like to look at the money. You say, on something and the labor pricing themselves out of bargaining position. Because they were buying steel from China, but let's get back into it. I'm sorry, let me back it up a little bit to where the woman asked the question. All right, let's go.
It'll be, in many cases, less than the tariff that they've been charging us for decades. So I think people are going to be very, very surprised.
Why is
On
that?
these auto tariffs,
I think they'll be pleasantly surprised. I don't know. I think we're trying to keep it somewhat conservative.
and on these auto tariffs, we saw obviously the NASDAQ 100 go down 2% at close, S&P 500 down 1%. What are you concerned
Is that
about
today?
that market reaction?
Today?
Yes, sir.
I didn't say that. I want to see the jobs. I want to see that'll all take care of itself. That could take care of itself in 1 day, 2 days, or 1 week.
Are there any conditions under which you'd remove these auto tariffs, sir, or is this permanent for the rest of your term in office?
Oh, this is permanent, yeah, 100%, yeah.
Are you on there, sir? Did Elon Musk advise you at all on these auto tariffs?
No, because he may have a conflict, so we don't talk. I've never talked to him. Elon's amazing. He's never asked me for a favor in business whatsoever. I'm actually a little surprised by it. I might do it, I might not do it. I do what's right, and he'd want me to do what's right. No, he's a patriot. He has never, these are big deals we're talking about. This is probably nothing like this. And I've never had Elon come and say, would you do me a favor with the mandate or the electric mandate or anything? He's never asked me for anything.
Sir, also, what's your response to Republican lawmakers who have said today that your administration should take more accountability and not downplay what's happened with the signal that we've seen in these messages today?
Well, I don't know about downplaying. The press upplays it. I think it's all a witch hunt. That's all. I think it's a witch hunt. I wasn't involved with it. I wasn't there, but I can tell you the result is unbelievable because the Houthis are looking to do something. They want to know, how do we stop? Can we have peace? The Houthis want peace because they're getting the hell knocked out of them. It's been very, very strong. The Houthis are dying for peace. They don't want this.
Like literally.
And they're bad. Look, they were knocking ships out of the ocean. We had in the Suez Canal, they only have about 20% of the ships going through. They have to go through a different way, which takes weeks of travel. And that really affects commerce.
Yeah, last week I said, yesterday I said Panama, but I meant the Suez.
Negotiate peace. But I don't think they're quite ready.
So that's my mistake.
Say it.
Do you still believe nothing classified was shared?
Well, that's what I've heard. I don't know. I'm not sure. You'll have to ask the various people involved. I really don't know. I can only tell you this, if you don't want to talk about it. The Houthis have been horrible to the world. What they've done, killed a lot of people and knocked down a lot of ships and planes and anything else. It's not just the ships. And they have been hit harder than they've ever been hit. And they want us to stop so badly. And they've got to stop. They've got to say no mas. But I can only say that the attacks, it's attacks every day, every night. It's not just the one. You're talking about one. The attacks have been very successful. Even beyond our wildest expectations. We've hit them very hard, very successfully, and we're going to do it for a long time. We're going to keep it going for a long time.
Senate Republicans have said that they would formally ask the administration for an Inspector General report on the signal issue. Will you agree to that?
It doesn't bother me. I don't know. I want to find if there's any mistake or if a signal doesn't work. It could be that signal is not very good. It's a company, and maybe it's not very good. I think we'd rather know about it now. There was no harm done because the attack was unbelievably successful that night, and it has been unbelievably successful every single night for the last 4 or 5 nights. So, and that's the thing that you should be talking about. This is something that should have been done by sleepy Joe Biden, but he was asleep at the wheel, other than when it came to stealing money, of course. Joe Biden should have done this attack on Yemen, which is basically a certain group within Yemen, the Houthis. And this should have been done by Joe Biden, and it wasn't. And that's caused this world a lot of damage and a lot of problems.
He's responsible, but he's also overseeing the investigation to find out what went wrong. Maybe
who's responsible?
Mike Waltz says that he's responsible.
Well, yeah, Mike Waltz, I guess he claimed responsibility, I would imagine. It had nothing to do with anyone else. It was Mike, I guess. I don't know. I was told it was Mike. But again, the attacks were unbelievably successful. And that's ultimately what you should be talking about, I think. Mike he took responsibility for it.
His position is this.
Say it?
Should Secretary Hegseth consider his position with the signal?
Hegseth is doing a great job. He had nothing to do with this. Hegseth, how do you bring Hegseth into it? He had nothing to do. Look, it's all a witch hunt. Here we are talking about some of the greatest business deals ever made. The greatest companies in the world are moving into the United States, and you want to ask about whether or not Signal works. I don't know that Signal works. I think Signal could be defective, to be honest with you. And I think that's what we have to, because you use Signal and we use Signal and everybody uses Signal, but it could be a defective platform, and we're going to have to find that out. Say it?
You've been briefed about the soldiers in Lithuania who are missing?
No, I haven't.
Mr. President, have you spoken, sir, with the big three automakers about these tariffs? What was their reaction?
I have.
What was their reaction?
It depends on whether or not they have factories here. I can tell you, if they have factories here, they're thrilled. If you don't have factories here, they're going to have to get going and build them because otherwise they have to pay tariffs. Very simple. And most of those have pretty big factories here, like General Motors has big factories here. They're going to move their parts divisions back to the United States because some of them were made in Canada and some of them were made in Mexico and other places. And they'll be moving their parts division back to the United States in factories where they may be at 60% capacity, so they don't even really have to build too much of a factory. But, generally speaking, if they have factories here, plants here, where they make their cars and equipment, but they make their cars here, they are thrilled. Same thing with the steel industry. Steel industry is now paying a 25% tariff, as you know, I put it on last week, and the business is roaring in the United States. And we can't, because of military, we can't lose the steel industry. If I didn't put the initial tariffs on steel in my first term, you wouldn't be able to have a military because we wouldn't have, every steel company would be bankrupt in the United States and every plant would be closed. But now they're booming. And putting this tariff on, this additional tariff for steel and aluminum, it's making them thrive. And it's already happened.
Mr. President, coming up on the deadline for the TikTok sale, will you extend that deadline if you don't have a deal? Do you support or?
Well, we will have a form of a deal. TikTok is very popular, very.
Hold on, before we get to him talking about TikTok, take a look at this. This is what I was saying. This is U.S. Steel. You see this? Ever since March 10th, they've been on a serious uptick. All right, serious uptick. And look at what it's going for. $42.98 a share. This is what it closed at. That's what it's closed at. You can buy what? 2 shares. 2 shares. I bought 10. You can buy 2 shares right now. If you want to keep in mind, I'm talking to the average brother here, not those who like to wear gold watches and all that stuff. I'm talking to the average brother who is looking for that come up, or those of you who already have the come up and you just want to make more money. But I'm mainly focusing on the 9-to-5 brother. You can go ahead and eat $100 for your future, really less than that. You open you up a Charles Schwab account, you throw $100 in there, give it a couple of days. I think it takes like 5 days for your money to completely transfer. And hopefully you'll be able to get in on the ground floor, get you 2 shares tomorrow. Or be ready to buy tomorrow, whatever. If not Monday, Wednesday, this time next week, get in on the ground floor, get your shares of U.S. Steel, and then just sit back. Just sit back and watch it grow. This is the 1 month look. Ever since he announced it. You see, they were dropping, then they signed the contract, and then boom. Boom. Anyway, let's get back to the TikTok. But yeah, Sunken, when I like The Devil as a Part-Timer. That's my show right there. All right, let's get back to this. He was talking about TikTok, right? All right, let me back it up a little bit.
Now they're booming. And putting this tariff on, this additional tariff for steel and aluminum, it's making them thrive. And it's already happened.
Mr. President, coming up on the deadline for the TikTok sale, will you extend that deadline if you don't have a deal? Do you support or?
Well, we will have a form of a deal. TikTok is very popular, very successful, very good. We're going to have a form of a deal, but if it's not finished, it's not a big deal. We'll just extend it. I have the right to have the deal and to extend it if I want. So we'll see whether or not we have a deal. We have a lot of interest in TikTok.
Is there a way for a U.S. company to operate it and ByteDance to still have a share of the algorithm?
Well, there are numerous ways you can buy TikTok, and we will find the one that's best for the country, for our country. I'm worried about our country more than anything else with respect to TikTok. And
yeah, because I tell you, my TikTok account, I'm on my 4th account. Now it looks like they're trying to ban with everything that I say. Like I have people saying wild stuff to me on my page, on my TikTok account. And all I do is just post like the news stories from Ground News. I'll mainly post those either from Ground News or from Twitter. And the TikTok bots, the Democratic bots, they come at me crazy. So if I say something back about them being like low IQ or something, TikTok slapping me down. They hit me with a violation. I'm like, are you serious? They need to hurry up and somebody need to buy this app so they can clean out that strong left Democratic leaning that's going on with their algorithm and their bots and everything. It is ridiculous. It is ridiculous. I mean, it's pretty much almost worse than Twitter was before Elon bought it. It's bad. They're destroying that app.
And China is going to have to play a role in that, possibly, in the form of an approval, maybe. And I think they'll do that. Maybe I'll give them a little reduction in tariffs or something to get it done, you know, because every point in tariff is worth more money than TikTok.
I think he came in this time with a clear vision.
I think every point, tariff is a much bigger world and TikTok is big, but every point in tariffs is worth more than TikTok. So in order to get China to do, maybe I'd give them a reduction in tariffs as an example. Sounds like something I did.
Tariffs are going to be good for Tesla, sir.
Good for who?
Tesla.
Well, he is a fantastic Tesla. Will tariffs be good? I
Yeah,
think
they do.
It could be a net neutral, or they may be good. He has a big plant in Texas. He has a big plant in California, and anybody that has plants in the United States, it's going to be good for, in my opinion.
Mr. President, the European
If you want
Union
to
has
return
really
education control to the states, how would you handle it if a state like California were to put in place education?
You know, I haven't seen a mask in so long. You're wearing a mask. So nice of you. I haven't seen anybody wearing a mask in a long time. It's good. You feel more comfortable, right? Good. That's good.
He clowning her wearing the mask.
You said you want to return education control to the states. How would you handle it if a state like California were to put in place education policies you disagree with?
Well, I think that California is going to be tougher because they're doing badly on everything they do. You know, everything they touch turns bad. So a place like California would be tougher for education. But what I would see with California is you'd have a Los Angeles department, and you'd have Riverside. You'd go to various places. And I think you'd have some great areas in California, and then you'd have some, like everything else, it doesn't work so well. But ultimately, I think it would be very successful. I think in New York, as an example, you'd go to Long Island, Westchester, you may have Nassau County, Queens County. You break it up in certain ways so they'd have maybe 5 departments, because of the size, they'd have 5 departments instead of 1. A state like Iowa, you'd have 1. And I mean, they're just chomping at the bit to get going. So many states are chomping at the bit to get education, and it's going to happen fast to get the education.
What just happened? Was that it? No? Oh, yeah, that was it. Okay. Yeah, because it's still, all right, the number's still rolling, but that was it. So that's what they covered on that. So let's move on to some other stuff. But let's be honest, though. These tariffs, they kick in on the 2nd. Man, you're going to see a financial explosion in this country. That's why I was saying, I keep telling people, I was like, come late September, you're going to see so many prices drop. You're going to see housing prices drop. Food costs are going to drop. That's when, once the ERS, once he gets the ERS, External Revenue Service, once they get a steady flow of what's coming in on average, probably by next year, that's when they'll eliminate the IRS for people that make less than $150,000 a year. So that way the middle class will have a better shot. The middle class and the lower class will have a better shot of being able to not just survive, but to live off of their income. But the biggest thing, you have to get housing down. You have to get the housing prices down. I mean, it's ridiculous that a 2-bedroom garden apartment, what a lot of us in certain areas would call like a struggle apartment or a first apartment. You went from like anywhere between what $450 to $700 a month to now 2,000 plus. That's crazy. That's crazy. It's not like the neighborhood got better. If anything, the neighborhoods got worse. They got worse, but the rent increased like, you know, damn near 150%. I mean, I'm being ridiculous, but you know what I'm saying? The rent just doubled on you. Like, this is crazy. Like, this is crazy. So let's see. Say, yeah, Trump had 4 years to study and consult on the rules and limits of the presidency while setting legal precedent with the court challenges. Yeah, because I mean, like I said, he came in this time, he wasn't all over the place like 2015, 2016. This time he came in with a clear mandate. He already knew who he was hiring, you know, left and right. He didn't even have to fire anybody. People were quitting. Herman Cain got messing around with Trump. Yeah. Peace. Yeah. So, right. Yeah, everybody's saying ERS. That's a thing now. Yeah, the External Revenue Service. That's why you ain't been around. That's why that's the whole thing with the tariffs. The tariffs are the ERS. Trump, because you know you had to balance the budget. We are $36 trillion in debt. You had to knock that off. So you were not going to get that money by taxing the American citizen. This is what Joe Biden's administration, because you know he was out to lunch. His administration were calling themselves trying to tax the American people for this money instead of making all of the cuts that he's making with Doge. All right. Now, the people who quote unquote own this country, they know they can make more money through tariffs, through the ERS than they would from normal citizens, especially with jobs not being available. But now that jobs are coming back, they said, hold on, we still want our money from the American citizens. Like, well, okay, well, how about we just tax everybody that make over 150K? And they went, okay, that sounds fair. So that way they get you coming and going. They make sure that they get their money. They heard that 40% of debtors are millennials. Probably. Say 2-bedroom apartment is $2,500 a month in Tampa. That's ridiculous. You say average 30 grand old. Yeah, that's ridiculous. But now with all of these corporations coming in, construction jobs are going to be up and going, warehouse jobs, office jobs. All right. Blue collar jobs, because somebody's got to drive the trucks and the deliveries and all of that stuff and the parts, and people will have more money to spend around this time next year. They'll have more money to spend this time next year. All right, especially if they go ahead, and make it mandatory that you have to have a DNA test when children are born, so that way you know who the father is. Because I mean, understand, this is just, you know, the federal level. They haven't even worked out on the state level yet. They want to get this federal money secured first. Then they're going to work at the state level. And you already see, this is the thing with Social Security, that a lot of Democratic dumbasses, excuse my language, I'm trying not to curse, but this is what they're thinking. They're lying to the people, saying they're cutting Social Security. They're cutting Social Security. Like, no, they're not cutting your Social Security. They're cutting Social Security for people who are over 120 years old, because that's ridiculous. There's not millions of people over the age of 120 years old in this country. Then they're going to work backwards, do the whole proof of life thing in order to make sure people are no longer committing fraud through Social Security, collecting checks. Once they start working on that, start getting those people off those rolls, that's when they're going to go after social programs. They're going to go after social programs like welfare, food stamps, Section 8, etc. Like, pretty much by the time they're done with it, they're going to limit it to just people who are elderly or disabled, both mentally and physically. Watch. I mean, it might be some provision where Like, okay, you're able-bodied. It'll be like the military. You can sign up for classes in order to stay on it, because this is what I was saying years ago, way back in 2018. The most humane way to deal with it, as far as clearing off the welfare rolls, if you have able-bodied people, if you can at least be able to work a computer, we'll pay for your schooling. You can pick from a list from 6 months to 4 years, but nothing crazy. We're not paying for you to be a damn doctor or a lawyer or nothing like that. But something that'll get you either blue collar or a white collar job where you're sitting at a desk where you'll be able to pay your rent, something like that. We'll pay for that. But stay off the drugs, no violent activities, okay? Nothing crazy, and you'll be able to stay on the program. You'll be able to graduate, but you'll graduate off the program. They'll even, this is my idea, I'll even put you in apprenticeship. You know how they say, well, you need experience for this job. Well, here's 6 months. They've been working for you for 6 months. You get the tax break from the government for having them as an apprentice, and you also get, that tax break will continue if you employ them. All right. But once they're employed, you graduated, you've employed, you can never come back. You're off the rolls forever. He said 100 years, there's supposed to be a physical proof of life check. Yeah. Yeah. You see, that's crazy how they collect checks on the dead. And see, this is what I'm talking about. All of these people who got fired from these government jobs, I was saying, like, look, relax. Take the buyout package. I would be talking buyout package, because government jobs, you'll go from one government job and wind up working for another working at another government job. And right now, if I'm Social Security, CPS, Child Protective Services, I'm hiring fresh people. I'm hiring people who already know my systems. And I'm like, yo, y'all need to do your daggone jobs, but especially Social Security. Go knock on these people's doors. Go door to door if you have to. You ain't doing nothing else. You know what I'm saying? You ain't doing nothing else. Go knock on the door. Go check on the person who who's supposed to be collecting these Social Security checks. Make sure that they are who they are. We need the CID. We need physical proof of life. Yup, you already had the clearance. Yeah, you already had the clearance. So we need physical proof of life. So you put all of these people who got fired, you give them a new chance, new job. Go out here, make sure that first you do Social Security, you do CPS. Oh, and also you do welfare, Section 8, whatnot, food stamps, etc. Because these are government programs. We can check on you like that. Remember, they used to do the home visits. Do they even do the home visits anymore? For people who are, women that are on welfare, do they even do those home visits anymore? I haven't heard anything about it. I mean, I hear about a woman, the white chick with the no teeth all over TikTok, social media, talking about somehow she was getting $13,000 a month, and then all of a sudden they sent her a bill like, "Nah, you paying us back." She's sitting up here talking about she got a husband. Like, how you got a husband and you collecting food stamps? That doesn't make any sense. You driving a BMW and all this stuff. I mean, she just, because women can't help but run their mouth. They like to brag on their stupidity. So they sent her a bill. They're going to find a way. They're going to find a way more than a pair of, they're going to find way more than a pair of men's shoes under the bed, right? They're going to sock drawer, underwear drawer. He going to be lathering up in the shower. Claudine style. Oh my God. It's going to be wild. So let's get on to the, so in other words, I'm just saying more jobs, more than just construction, auto jobs and other things that they got going on, like these, because I did the video in my little regular video things through the AI, through CapCut. You got a lot of corporations that are paying for these $5 million gold cards. They're coming in here. They're starting to pour into the country because of these tariffs. It's cheaper to open a factory here bring your business here than it is to pay the tariffs. All right, because you're going to lose out. This is what people don't seem to understand. Oh, things are going to go up because of the tariffs. Like, let me tell you something. If I'm Helsinki lemons, and now I got to pay this tariff where my lemons were going for like 13 cents or whatever per lemon, and now they're up to 32 cents. Or I'm just throwing out numbers. They're now up to 32 cents per lemon, but sitting next to my lemons is Florida Orchard lemons, and they're going for 13 cents, you know, or better yet, less than that, because the tariffs, they're going for 8 cents a lemon. Who do you think is going to lose out? So it's cheaper to move your plant here, you know, the whole orchard thing, everything. And that way you can have a competitive price next to Florida Orchard's lemons. You understand what I'm saying? That it just, so it's not that the price of goods, I mean, they will go up, but corporations are smart enough to buy the gold ticket, buy the gold card at $5 million and move their plants here. And it won't be, you know, Hung Toy's little chicken shack on the corner. You know, you're talking about big time corporations that'll be hiring thousands of people. You say that damn NAFTA. I remember when it came online like it was yesterday. Oh yeah, they stole so many jobs. So many jobs was lost because of NAFTA. It was ridiculous. It was like when black folks got their civil rights. You saw black corporations, black businesses just, you know, going out of business sale within a year. Black folks, mainly women, they couldn't wait to run and spend their money with white folks for that pat on the head that they so desperately wanted. You know, they still live like that. But here in America, this is a business decision. Like you make more. This is the biggest capitalist society in the world. You understand? The biggest consumers in the world live right here in this country. You are not cutting off your nose to spite your face. You will go broke. So it's a good thing that's going on. Say that huge sucking sound is jobs leaving America. Ross Perot on NAFTA. Yeah. All right, so let's get on to the next story, which if you live in Alabama, you're going to love this. Oh, I'm sorry, Mississippi. See what that say? Oh, let me get that out of the way. What that say? Governor Tate Reeves signs legislation ending state income tax in Mississippi.
I want to welcome all of y'all here today for a truly historic occasion. My friends in the House and in the Senate, members of my administration, and yes, even the press, welcome to the signing of House Bill 1. Today is a day that will be remembered not just for the headlines, not just for the politics, but for the profound generational change it represents. I must say, it feels like it's been a long time coming, but after many, many, many years of hard work, we can all stand together and say that we have accomplished income tax elimination.
They went to Colorado.
In the state of Mississippi. Let me say that again. Mississippi will no longer tax the work, the earnings, or the ambition of its people. Now,
this brother right here.
I want to be clear. This didn't happen overnight, and it didn't happen alone. This day is the result of years of work by dedicated leaders who shared the vision and had the courage to act. In my State of the State this past January, I called on my friends in the legislature to have this be the year that we got the ball
they got
across the finish line. And by working together, we did exactly that. Transformational policy such as this requires all of us to work hard. And I'm proud to say we have achieved a truly transformational goal.
I wonder why they did it.
You know,
Let's see if they say why they did it.
And I know. And all these folks behind me know the difficulties, the intricacies, but ultimately the rewards of passing this legislation and ending our tax on work once and for all. To all the members of the House and the Senate who rolled up their sleeves and got this done. We debated, we negotiated, but in the end, we stayed focused on the goal. I would submit to you that that is what real leadership looks like. And these men and women behind me are the ones who did that. And I'm so proud to stand shoulder to shoulder with them who made this historic moment possible. First, I want to personally thank all of them for their hard work. I also want to take the opportunity now to recognize Lieutenant Governor Hosemann. Thank you, Governor. And thank you to the Senate for your hard work on this bill. So at this time, I'm going to ask Lieutenant Governor Hosemann to come up and share his remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, Governor. Today, as the Governor mentioned, today is a historic day in Mississippi and one that's going to bring positive and lasting change to the state of Mississippi, and we're all proud to be here. Some may have doubted, and sometimes maybe even ourselves, whether or not we could have one big, beautiful bill. This legislation eliminates the income tax, reduces the grocery tax, maintains our transportation system, and yes, the public ensures the solvency of the public employees retirement system so that our current employees and our retirees will all get their funds. You know, some of y'all have focused on a typo in the bill, and I'd use the biblical analogy, let he who has not had a typo cast the first stone.
Okay.
It continues to be the intent of the Mississippi legislature and the Senate to reduce and eliminate the income tax as we look at our state revenue and we go forward with this. The governor's exactly right about that. But today, we're celebrating what the plan did, and it builds a stronger and more prosperous Mississippi, and it's obvious from what we will do going forward. And what we do that for, as we've often said, is because our children and our grandchildren deserve a better Mississippi, and this starts them on that track. So I'd be remiss if I did not, and I appreciate the governor speaking of this. Thank the members of the Senate and the House.
I wonder if they'll get to
everyone who contributed to this today, particularly Senator Harkins, who's here, Senator Hobson, who actually is working today on the school board, Senator Johnson, Senator Sparks, and our staff who worked so many hours trying to get together something that came today in conjunction with the Mississippi House. I would warn my House colleagues that legislation coming from the Senate in the future will look like a continuing sentence. That's because I have removed the period from the legislative drafting committee, and it'll stay removed. We do appreciate everybody coming today. It's a special day in Mississippi. We watch the trees show growth, watch the grass come up, and we're going to watch Mississippi grow because of what we did today. So thank you very much.
I wonder if they have businesses coming into Mississippi. Let me check co-pilot.
And I would, of course, be remiss without mentioning one of my longtime personal friends, a truly good man and a great senator for my home county, and that's certainly Senator Josh Harkins. Serving as chairman of the Senate Finance Committee is no walk in the park, and he handles difficult and important issues for our state every single day in every single session, and he does it admirably. So thank you, Senator Harkins, and thank you to the entire Mississippi State Senate for your work on this effort. I must also recognize my friends in the House for their hard work and laser focus on eliminating our state income tax. Perhaps, wow, this is really saying something, but perhaps there was no one that's been more focused and more of a champion for this issue than House Ways and Means Chairman Representative Trey Lamar. Representative, I must commend you for your incredibly hard work on House Bill 1 and for your determination in seeing this across the finish line. Congratulations. As y'all know, for many of us, this is something that we have been working on literally since 2015, with the first bill changing and reducing our.
All right, so I had to look up co-pilot. So I had to ask, were there gold card jobs coming to Mississippi? It couldn't really give me an answer on that. But I asked, is the auto industry coming to Mississippi? And it says they already established itself as a hub for automotive manufacturing, and the industry continues to grow. Major players like Nissan, Toyota, and Packer have facilities in the state producing vehicles and components. Nissan's Canton plant, for example, is gearing up for electric vehicle production with a $500 million investment. Additionally, a joint venture between Accelera by Cummins, Packer, and Daimler Trucks and Buses is set to invest nearly $2 billion in North Mississippi to produce battery cells for electric commercial vehicles. The state's workforce, infrastructure, and incentives make it an attractive location for automotive companies. Mississippi's automotive industry employs over 15,000 skilled workers and produces more than 500,000 vehicles annually. It seems the Magnolia State is poised for even more growth in this sector. Okay, so that's why you kill your state income tax. So that way you can go ahead and bring in, it doesn't sound like it, but you can bring in more jobs, bring the auto industry back in. They don't have to pay income tax. You don't have to pay income tax. That's more money being spent in the state. Let's see. You see a flag with 3 people over a flag. Let me see. You say, did they remove corporate tax? All right, let me ask. Let's see here. Oops. The answer to that is no. They said Mississippi has not completely removed corporate taxes, but it has been reducing its franchise tax over the years. The franchise tax rate has been gradually decreasing since 2022. By 2024, it's reduced to $1 per $1,000 of the value of capital employed above $100,000. Corporate income tax still exists with a graduated tax rate based on income levels. So, yeah, they about to make some money.
Income tax passing the Mississippi legislature in 2016. The second bill doing
they about to make some money in Mississippi.
Our income tax in 2022.
I mean, we have Google, these supercomputers for a reason. They're not just for entertainment. We use them for information.
Jason White, to share his thoughts on this.
You don't know something, look it up, right?
Mr. Speaker, you continue to lead the House chamber in accomplishing great things for the people of Mississippi. From your first day in your position, we aligned on this purpose and worked side by side to make it happen. So I appreciate you, Mr. Speaker. And
anyway, thanks, Vid.
Your news made headlines that you were criminally referring these mayors to the DOJ. Did you tip your Republican colleagues off? Did you let them know? Did you tip off the Democrats? Was everyone shocked? I mean, what are those conversations with your colleagues looking like?
Well, look, again, as I stated earlier, I wanted to see what the mayor's responses were first before I made the referrals. So I came with the referrals ready, but it didn't necessarily mean that I was going to end up referring them. Again, I went through that line of questioning, got them on record with their own policies versus that of federal law. And so I hope that the DOJ considers all of that with evidence when they take up the case. If they do, we're waiting on a response from them currently.
I want to read something from the American Immigration Council. They said that under the 10th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, the federal government, quote, may neither issue directives requiring the states to address particular problems nor command the state's officers or those of their political subdivisions to administer or enforce a federal regulatory program. So essentially, do you think that the investigation can go anywhere because of the 10th Amendment? What do you make of that?
Most certainly, I think that they're perverting the 10th Amendment in that response. You know, I would ask them, do they have the same perspective on child pedophiles?
Well, I mean, that just stopped me in my tracks. So
wait,
what
hold on, wait.
think?
What'd she say? Hold on. I was reading what you wrote, and all I heard was child pedophiles. And then she looked at that woman with that smug look. First and foremost, chick, you need to comb and brush your hair. You look ridiculous. But yeah, I ain't gonna lie. I'd kiss these moles, but let's get back to what she said.
Most certainly, I think that they're perverting the 10th Amendment in that response. You know, I would ask them, do they have the same perspective on child pedophiles?
Oh, okay.
Well, I mean, that just stopped me in my tracks. So what do you think their response would be to that?
I think that they're going to try to hem this up in court, and I think that they're going to try to say that the federal government is overreaching in an effort to protect the American people. But these are also the same cities, mind you, that are asking for federal dollars to deal with the problems that they themselves have caused. So if they want federal money, you need to comply. If you don't want federal money, fine, but figure out a way to pay for it. And then also, too, I think cities' policies stop when American citizens start having their own constitutional freedoms violated. When you are no longer able to access life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness because you have someone extorting you, someone robbing you, someone basically enabling a criminal activity, as we saw with the gangs in Colorado. I mean, that's obviously a violation of any American-born citizen. And I would argue that that entire argument in itself that they're bringing forward is pretty hypocritical.
From what I understand, Trump signed an executive order neutralizing sanctuary cities. I'll probably cover that tomorrow. Oh no, that's right. I won't be able to cover tomorrow. I got something to do tomorrow. I'll say this though, he picked some nice little Hispanic women to work in his cabinet. Christy know him, you know, she's a nice looking woman.
Good morning, everyone. Special greetings to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Colombia, Laura Sarabia Torres, and the Secretary of National Security, Christine Noem, that are leading the delegation of both countries. We cordially welcome them to the Bolivar Hall of the Palace of San Carlos for the signing of a declaration of intent between the government of the Republic of Colombia and the government of the United States of America in order to advance in the development of a mechanism in accordance with the national laws to strengthen the cooperation in the management of migratory information. We invite the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Colombia, Laura Sarabia Torres, and the Secretary of Homeland Security of the United States, Christine Noem, to sign the Declaration of Intent.
All right, so it says Trump did not remove sanctuary cities outright, but he took significant steps to target them during his administration. Trump signed executive orders aiming to restrict federal funding for these cities and proposed measures to hold local officials accountable for not assisting federal immigration and authorities. All right. It's a woman's world. What the fuck? You know what? I mean, if they're smart and capable, I ain't mad at it. Laura Sarabia, yeah. She's short.
A continuación,
She looks
We
about 5'2".
invite the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Colombia, Laura Sarabia Torres.
Let's see. You find out how tall she is.
Good afternoon to all. We truly thank the fact that you are here. We just finished an open communication with the Secretary of Security, Kristi Noem of the United States. We want to thank her visit in the country, their honest conversation we had, and to have conversation between women so we can advance together in these type of topics that are important for both countries. This is a diplomatic meeting, all the bilateral agenda we have, a fruit of this communication, the communication with authorities of both countries. We signed today an intention letter for the strengthening of the cooperation on affairs of information of migrations to establish specific realistic measures and effective ones that can ensure the consolidation of our friendship with the United States, and to ensure that the human rights and the dignity of migrants are actually respected. We personally want to thank, and on behalf of the government of Colombia, to the Secretary Noem for her visit. The robust agenda we have in terms of immigration, security, commerce, and the fight against drug trafficking. We're going to strengthen the deep friendship bonds and cooperation bonds that we have for more than 200 years that has joined our nations. We might have much more information. We will see each other in agendas like this one later on, and specifically with more specific outcomes. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Colombia. Now we're going to hear the remarks of the U.S. Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem.
Well, thank you. And I want to thank the Minister of Foreign Affairs for welcoming me here today. The hospitality of the people of Colombia has been absolutely remarkable. And I want to thank you for having me and my team come and have be a part of a frank discussion and a candid discussion on what we can do to be partners into the future and continue to have a cooperative effort to address the concerns that both of our countries share. I do want to thank the minister, who now I will refer to as my friend, and we'll call her Laura, as she is a strong leader. And I appreciate the fact that we have had the opportunity not just to share our policy concerns, also what our people are concerned about as far as public safety issues, drug trafficking, human trafficking, how we may combat organized crime together, but also what we can do to help bring our countries closer together to partner in a new way, in a historical way that will bring results that both of our people need to be successful. Today, we have signed a statement of intent for biometric cooperation, and it will reaffirm our strong and our resilient and enduring partnership that we have between the United States and Colombia. We're going to strengthen our regional security systems and make sure that we're disrupting the movement of threatening actors that perpetuate illegal activity and also facilitate illegal trafficking of migrants across the Western Hemisphere. I believe that Colombia and the United States can be leaders in this area, and that we can bring other countries to the table in a cooperative effort to address our security concerns that we all share. We're committed to working hand in hand with our Colombian partners to enhance not only border security, but also that we will support the enforcement of our immigration and our criminal laws. We do appreciate the president and his team and the minister working to facilitate the repatriation of Colombian nationals back to their country, and we'll continue to work on that as well. But through this expansion of sharing of biometric data, It will be much more efficient, effective, accurate, and it will also build cooperation that will open doors to new ways that.
You say Snow White producer's son, Nepo baby, got offended by a comment. Yeah, because that comment that the comment was stupid because Rachel Ziegler destroyed that movie. And like his son said, a lot of blue collar people that worked on that movie who, they do understand in Hollywood, you get paid residuals. The more successful the movie is, the more money that you make simply off of residuals. Plus, the work that you've done. People, they hire you because, oh, you worked on this good movie. So let me hire you to work on my movie. I want it to be a good movie. So yeah, Rachel Ziegler's stupidity destroyed a lot of people's paychecks because she's a narcissist. You say the interpreter sounds like ambient if it was a person. Let's see. Oh, this is the one with the cell phones. Start talking, bro.
Morning and welcome, everyone. We're here today to
Somebody
discuss
fix
the
that
cell
mic.
phone jamming format.
There we go.
Good morning and welcome. We're here today to discuss the Cell Phone Jamming Reform Act. I'm honored to be joined by Congressman David Kustoff, Arkansas Attorney General Tim Griffin, and correctional officers and professionals from state and local governments across America. Thank you all for supporting this important legislation to keep criminal activity off our streets, out of our neighborhoods, and away from our communities. When criminals go to prison, they should not be able to pose a threat to public safety. However, because of contraband cell phones, convicted criminals continue their illicit activity while sitting in a prison cell. In Georgia, a major prison drug ring used contraband cell phones to move more than 14 kilos of meth and nearly a kilo of heroin into the greater Atlanta area. In South Carolina, prison inmates running a sextortion scheme targeted hundreds of our troops, leading to the tragic suicide of several victims. And in New Jersey, an inmate used a contraband cell phone to arrange an assault on his ex-girlfriend and the murder of her new boyfriend. Contraband cell phones in prisons endanger the general public, as well as the correctional employees who dedicate their lives to keeping Americans safe. Lieutenant Osvaldo Albarrati, a Federal Bureau of Prisons correctional officer, was killed by a group of inmates because of his work to seize and stop the flood of contraband into a detention center. Incarcerated criminals used a contraband cell phone to contact the gunman who took his life. Within prison walls, contraband cell phones are dangerous weapons. For too long, we've turned a blind eye to this glaring public safety threat as crimes are planned, facilitated, and ordered by convicted criminals already serving a prison sentence. No more. The Cell Phone Jamming Reform Act will allow state and federal correctional facilities to use targeted cell phone jamming equipment in prison housing facilities. The precision of this jamming equipment will render contraband cell phones useless for criminals in prison without interrupting the normal communications of law enforcement and emergency first responders in the area. State officials will have full discretion as to where and how this jamming equipment is used in prison facilities, thus providing local correctional officers and law enforcement with the tools they need to keep Americans safe. We should pass the Cell Phone Jamming Reform Act to keep cell phones out of prison cells and crime out of our communities. Thank you all for being here. I'm now pleased to turn over the microphone to Congressman Kustoff.
That's it on that. Just a quick little blurb. Like, yeah, you're right. Yeah, that was Gail Gadot that was running around saying that she hates Trump supporters and they should never know peace and all of that. That was her that was, doing all that weird. Yeah, that was all Gail Gadot. Yeah, you're right. Anyway, Like, sure, Jan. Anyway, let's move on.
Car companies bracing for new tariffs President Trump is planning on auto imports. Stellantis and General Motors seeing shares down after Trump's 25% tariff announcement. Tesla, too, says they are not immune to the impacts of tariffs. Elon Musk posting today that despite Tesla having several assembly plants in the U.S., the company is, quote, not unscathed here. The cost impact is not trivial. Here with us now is Corey Johnson, the chief market strategist for Epistrophe and the host of the Drill Down podcast. Corey, welcome. So Musk says Tesla could be impacted by these tariffs, but we saw Tesla stock go up today as opposed to Ford and Stellantis. Do you think he's right?
They could be impacted. It'll be really good for Tesla. If you look at all of the car makers in the world that sell in the U.S., right? U.S. car makers make parts in Mexico, makes cars in Mexico and Canada and Korea. German car makers who make cars in the U.S. If you look at German car makers who import cars, look at all of the car makers selling in the U.S. The number one car maker that's going to benefit the most from these announced tariffs is Tesla. So will they be impacted? Yes, because they will have the least impact of any of their other competitors.
So what does this mean for Tesla's future? And do you anticipate Tesla's stock tumbling a bit here?
If it's anything, it's good for Tesla stock. I don't do stock predictions. I don't have a long or short position in Tesla stock. We have seen the value of Tesla stock since these tariffs have really come into focus in the last few days. We've seen the value of Tesla shares increase by more than $100 billion. So the market clearly thinks that this is going to be good for Tesla, and it certainly will. Do they have a few parts that come from overseas? Absolutely. Do they have less than any other car maker? Absolutely. So if, a company like Volkswagen, which makes Porsche, Porsche is going to see the worst impact because their cars are entirely made in Germany and they'll face these 25% imports. That also affects other Porsche made cars like Volkswagen made cars like Volkswagen, I should say. It's going to affect some cars like Audi, which are made in a Volkswagen plant. But you're going to see mixed results. I have a Jeep in my front yard, or not my front yard. That would be awkward. It's actually in the driveway. But 25% of that car's parts are made in overseas and will affect the price of new versions of that vehicle. My Porsche also in the driveway, hopefully still. However, those prices are going to go right through the roof.
Going back to General Motors and Stellantis, both, like I mentioned, saw a decline on Wall Street. But do you think that's temporary?
So if these tariffs come into effect, it's going to hurt their business here. I think, the big thing going on here in terms of the other automakers, have more complex supply chains and make a lot more cars than Tesla, is that they've got a very complex supply chain based on understanding the rules of the road, pun intended. But they recognize that maybe the aluminum might be mined in Canada. They'll have it sort of initially tooled across the border in Detroit, then send back to Windsor, Canada, and Ontario to be fine-tuned and come back across the border again to be assembled. Those really complex supply chains that reduce the amount of inventory a car maker has to have in hand at any given time, so they can have just-in-time manufacturing, just-in-time capabilities to keep prices lower for consumers. That's out the window when companies can't plan anymore and don't know what their costs are going to be going forward. But Tesla is really good news for Tesla.
You mentioned the risks to foreign cars like Porsche and Mercedes. Do you think we'll see some car companies shift their plants here to the United States? Or will prices just go up for me and you and other Americans, other consumers?
We know that prices will go up in the short term. Over the long term, will companies make 5, 10, 15-year decisions about where they're going to build plants and things, and how will those change because of these off-again, on-again tariffs? If we knew these are the rules of the road, again, for the next 10 years, companies would plan around that. Maybe they might change manufacturing. Slapping these tariffs on does one thing for certain, which is raise prices for foreign manufactured cars from overseas. I like to take the cynic's look, because whenever I look at what a government does, regardless of administration, I like to take the cynic's view, at least try to figure things out, especially when it comes to money. And if you follow the money, what if you took at the $250 million that Elon Musk contributed to the Trump campaign and thought of it more as an investment, not a contribution? That's a cynic's view, to be sure. But if you look at it as an investment, he gave $250 million to the Trump campaign and is coming out with a $100 billion increase in the value of the stock in the last week. That's a cynic's view, but I think that we have to follow the money here and understand the financial impacts of whom the tariffs apply to, and keep an eye out for who will get exceptions from these tariffs.
Thanks so much for watching. Just go to joinnn.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's
Thank you. Senator Markey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's good to see you again, Mr. Roth. Along with the $42.5 billion that Congress provided for the broadband program known as BEAD, we also provided nearly $3 billion to help ensure all Americans have the skills and the knowledge to participate in the online world. Those funds are critical to ensure that all Americans can benefit from the digital revolution. In Massachusetts, for example, residents expressed difficulties finding jobs online and obtaining other important services. This funding will help close those gaps. Ms. Roth, if confirmed, will you commit to fulfilling NTIA's legal obligation to provide the money authorized and appropriated by Congress for this program?
Senator, I will always abide by the law. And also, thank you so much for meeting with me in your office. It was such an honor to meet with someone who has had such an influence on my career with so many pieces of legislation that you authored in the telecom
my violin music back.
Thank you. And glad to help to provide employment for you and so many others at the Federal Communications Commission over the years. And thank you for that. I'm glad to hear that. Many of my colleagues have raised the Trump administration's ongoing review of the BEAD program and the impact of any potential changes of the program. Massachusetts has been allocated $147 million in BEAD funding and began accepting applications from providers in January. Just yesterday, Arkansas announced results from their second round of their application process. Other states are in a similar position. Given the Commerce Department's review, should states just stop accepting applications and indefinitely pause their program and just save the money?
Thank you, Senator. As haven't been confirmed yet, I haven't had a chance to confer with NTIA's career staff, and I haven't been involved in the review process. I would hope that any review conducted by NTIA is expeditious, with the goal of expediting build-outs.
Yeah, well, will you commit to a quick timeline for when the review will be complete?
As I haven't been confirmed, I'm not in a position to commit to a specific timeline, but I will commit that my goal would be a very expeditious timeline.
Okay, that's great, because I am very worried that changes to the program will cause serious delays in deploying broadband right as states are ready to get shovels in the ground. So now I'd like to talk about a specific change that the Trump administration appears to be pushing for BEAD, turning the program into a subsidy for Elon Musk's Starlink. Under the guise of making the program, quote, technology neutral, the Trump administration may eliminate the program's preference for fiber and make satellite providers like Starlink eligible for BEAD funding in all circumstances. Ms. Roth, do you support that change?
Senator, as I've said before, I would administer the law consistent with the statute and to the benefit of the American people, not for any specific individual or company. I do believe that Congress wrote the law in a technology neutral manner, and that means an all of the above solution that recognizes different realities across different parts of the country.
But let's be clear. The BEAD program never excluded satellite broadband, but it did limit it. It did limit it to areas where fiber was excessively expensive. That is in the law. And that's because while satellite broadband may be cheaper to deploy in some locations in the short term, it costs far more to service and maintain in the long run. So, Ms. Roth, do you agree that fiber is a cheaper technology in the long run?
Senator,
hello.
I would want to confer with NTIA's career staff before assessing a specific product or technology. And I look forward to working with you to ensure that Massachusetts gets
Oh my God.
Gets what it needs.
It's not just Massachusetts, it's the whole country.
Absolutely.
Because this satellite versus fiber question is very central.
Right. Just
And
say I
according to a
don't have
Bloomberg
the
article
figures in front of me.
yesterday,
I'll get back to you on
one
that.
state official
Move
found
on.
that fiber would save households $15,600 over a 30-year period. And I ask that article be included in the record, Mr. Chairman.
Without objection.
So, Mr. Roth, I strongly urge you to oppose this giveaway to Elon Musk and ensure that the BEAD program delivers for all Americans, and that we not adopt a more costly approach, because that surely will drain the funding that could have been used more efficiently. So I thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I yield back.
I thank the senator from Massachusetts, and I would note that in 4 years, the Biden administration managed to connect 0 households with the $42 billion that Congress gave them. And one of the reasons was the Biden administration, I think, engaged in petulant and partisan politics by blacklisting Elon Musk and Starlink, which is technology that could have connected particularly households in distant rural places. And I think it was purely partisan. And I would note we saw this underscored just last week when 2 American astronauts finally came back from the International Space Station, when SpaceX flew them back, and Elon offered months ago to fly them back. And because the Biden administration suffered from Elon derangement syndrome, they stranded our astronauts in space for many months rather than accept the only ride back that could bring them from the station.
If the senator would yield,
Sure.
Thank you. So, to the extent to which the Biden administration did authorize last July to contract with SpaceX in order to complete that mission, I think we should note that it began in the Biden administration.
Okay.
And to the extent to which,
but he didn't send them up there to
move forward now with deployment of the BEAD program, all I'm asking is, if that be the case, that we just do it in the most efficient way. That's something that Elon would want.
Yeah. On that, we are agreed.
And if it's clear that it's fiber and not Starlink, that be the approach which is taken by the administration. Because if we do it that way, we'll save more money for the consumers over time. Looking forward. Let's look forward. Let's look.
Okay, well, let's look forward. Right now, Starlink it's a little bit more expensive because it's not everywhere, supply and demand. But once the demand starts happening, the supply, it'll grow, the demand slides. It's like the egg situation. Now that the supply has met the demand, the egg prices have dropped. Same thing with Starlink. Once the supply hits the demand, it'll drop. It's like VCRs. Remember, VCRs was like $1,200. Now you can get a VCR, what? For like 50 cents. In many respects, Cruz knows the law. Yeah. What's the next story we got here? Okay, here we go.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary, Mr. President. Thank you for taking questions from us. We appreciate it. The Mayor from Reuters. Mr. Secretary, a Turkish student in Boston was detained and handcuffed on the street by plainclothes agents. A year ago, she wrote an opinion piece about the Gaza war. Could you help us understand what the specific action she took led to her visa being revoked?
Yeah.
What was your State Department's role in that process?
We revoked her visa. It's an F1 visa, I believe. We revoked it, and here's why. And I'll say it again. I said it everywhere. Let me be abundantly clear, okay? If you go apply for a visa right now, anywhere in the world, let me just send this message out. If you apply for a visa to enter the United States and be a student, and you tell us that the reason why you're coming to the United States is not just because you want to write op-eds, but because you want to participate in movements that are involved in doing things like vandalizing universities, harassing students, taking over buildings, creating a ruckus, we're not going to give you a visa. If you lie to us and get a visa and then enter the United States and with that visa participate in that sort of activity, we're going to take away your visa. And once you've lost your visa, you're no longer legally in the United States, and we have a right, like every country in the world has a right, to remove you from our country. So it's just that simple. I think it's crazy. I think it's stupid for any country in the world to welcome people into their country that are going to go to your universities as visitors. They're visitors. And say, I'm going to your universities to start a riot. I'm going to your universities to take over a library and harass people. I don't care what movement you're involved in. Why would any country in the world allow people to come and disrupt? We gave you a visa to come and study and get a degree. not to become a social activist that tears up our university campuses. And if we've given you a visa and then you decide to do that, we're going to take it away. I encourage every country to do that, by the way, because I think it's crazy to invite students into your country that are coming onto your campus and destabilizing it. We're just not going to have it. So we'll revoke your visa. And once your visa is revoked, you're illegally in the country and you have to leave. Every country in the world has a right to decide who comes in as a visitor and who doesn't. If you invite me into your home because you say, I want to come to your house for dinner, and I go to your house and I start putting mud on your couch and spray painting your kitchen, I bet you're going to kick me out. Well, we're going to do the same thing if you come into the United States as a visitor and create a ruckus for us. We don't want it. We don't want it in our country. Go back and do it in your country, but you're not going to do it in our country. Sure.
You know what? That's that whole, you say little Marco grew a pair of nice. You know what? That's that whole situation going on right now in South Korea with that Johnny Somali dude. Like he's now trying because he's trying real hard to get deported. He's trying real hard to get deported out of South Korea. So he's starting to do more outlandish stuff, but he's realizing that it's not working. So currently he's working with some dude that's filming a documentary about him. This happened last night, yesterday/today. He was on the streets doing a documentary and some dude came up and cracked him right in the face while he was doing the documentary. And matter of fact, the last dude that cracked him, the Asian dude that cracked him coming out of the elevator, he was like, good night, Johnny. Good night, Johnny. He ran into Johnny Somali again. And Johnny was running from him. Yeah, you call him Mr. Somali. Yeah, he was running from him. He was scared. Like, just talk, please, just talk. He was scared of that dude as well as he should be. But, when you're over there you're in a foreign country, because America is a foreign country to other people. But when you're out there in a foreign country and you're doing stupid stuff, I mean, it's up to that country whether they want to throw you in jail and then deport you or just deport you. And unfortunately with Johnny, it looks like they're going to throw him in jail anywhere between 3 to 5 years because he made graphic sexual content, but he did like a deep fake with him and some woman that's in South Korea, a streamer, where you know how they show the deep fakes where the two people they turn and kiss, that deep fake. Yeah, he did that deep fake with a Korean streamer over there, and they have severe laws against deep fakes. They have severe laws against deep fakes. Their laws on deep fakes is like our laws on CP. Like they don't play that stuff. So they got him on that. But I mean, FAFO, FAFO. Just because you get a passport to come into the country doesn't mean you get to tear the place up. That's why I was saying last year when all those protests were going on those college campuses, I'm like, why is the U.S. government letting it happen? And then, of course, as we found out, Sleepy Joe totally, like literally asleep at the wheel, letting his aides run the White House, and they were letting that stuff go on, But at any rate, it is what it is. It is what it is. All right, so we're at 2-hour mark. I'm not going to run any deeper than that. I will. I probably won't catch y'all tomorrow, but I'll definitely, if I get a chance, because I got to get my car tomorrow. The car is in the shop. Oh my goodness, Volkswagens. But yeah, I'll be on maybe Saturday. No, not Saturday, but I'll definitely be on Sunday. We have to go through the list of corporations as far as what's going on with the stock. So of course that'll be on the Patreon. So I will catch y'all later. Y'all be safe out there. Take care of yourselves, please.
Okay, I believe that is an L. It is in fact an L.
Did we 6 hours ago? I couldn't even read a stop sign. All right, test me again. I want to go smaller.
Smaller. All right. Great work, Rob. Great work. See if you can read this. You're fired. And in case your ears are fucked, get the fuck out! And the next person I see juggling, tap dancing, or baton twirling, or doing any other circus-like tricks will join him, all right? One strike policy applies. Now get back to work. God damn, that felt good.